Yeah, so welcome back to the business track. Come to the front so you can engage with our speaker. And let me introduce you Alex Teller. So he's a merchant. He's a local kid. He grew up in Manhattan, moved to Brooklyn, so not very far. And he's been passionate about technology and entrepreneurship for a very long time. So in 2008, he founded Home Perfect, a pure player selling fixtures for luxury bathroom and kitchens. And he's been with Magento ever since, which is fascinating, going through the up and downs of the platform, all the evolution and the innovations. So welcome Alex, who's going to tell us his wonderful story.
Hello. Is this thing on?
Yep.
Hey everyone. Good morning. My name's Alex Teller and I'm the CEO of HomePerfect.com. We're an e-tailer and we sell luxury kitchen and bath products online. We've been on Magento for about 10 years after transitioning from a software as a service platform before that. Before I go any farther, I'd like to say thank you so much to Krish Consulting for organizing this wonderful Meet Magento. I'm really excited to be here after so many years away. And for Adobe for having us. I'm born and raised right here in Manhattan, right on 23rd Street. So this location is particularly close to home for me. Very close. If you guys need any pizza recommendations or something, I'm your guy. It's Pizza Suprema on 31st Street and 8th. It's my favorite slice in Manhattan. And you got to get a plain slice and an upside down slice, and you got to sit in the back to stay. What's up, Caitlin? How you doing, man? Thank you for coming, man. So over the next 30-minute panel, I'd like to share with you my story as a merchant running a business on Magento, divided into 3 parts, ranking in importance. It's the past, the present, and the future. I'm going to get into the pros and cons, coming from a place of sincerity and a place of experience. And I'm also going to highlight some great third-party modules that myself and my team use every day, as well as some members of the Magento community my business has grown to depend on. And that's because the theme of my panel is giving credit. Credit is given where credit is due. So without further ado, let's get into it. So a little bit about Home Perfect. We sell... there we go. Now I know how to do that. We sell brand name kitchen and bath products, HVAC, lighting, luxury brands, a lot of different products. And we have 250,000 SKUs in total, so it's a huge database. And let's start with toilets. This is my Toilet Talk 101 slide. I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about toilets in case you don't know about them. Over here we have a 2-piece toilet. It's got a tank and a bowl separate, and it typically ships FedEx ground. It's available in round or elongated, and it's got a 10 or 12-inch rough-in size, which is the installation to the wall. And over here, we have what's called I can't hear you. It's a 1-piece toilet. It is. And a 1-piece toilet has a tank and a bowl as 1 piece, hence the name. These, a lot of the time, like the NeoRest over here, which is the top of the line 1-piece toilet, may ship LTL freight, common carrier. So they have all sorts of complex shapes and sizes. They cost more to ship. They may get damaged in transit. They might require some sort of optional or required accessories, like a wall mount toilet, might need the in-wall toilet carrier. And they can get pretty complex. They have washlet bidet seats that, are amazing. If anybody wants one, I'm going to give you a special coupon code afterwards. Come see me. Yeah. If you don't have a washlet bidet seat, you are a total plebeian. So what does that relate to our Magento large database? Well, it becomes 251,830 SKUs, 262 product attributes, and product attributes are things like toilet type, toilet seat shape, toilet rough-in size. There's 9,193 EAV attribute options. That's a lot. Toilet seat shape, elongated or round. toilet type, one piece, two piece, wall mount. And there's 68 product attribute sets. And what does that mean? That's things like bathtubs, fans, fireplaces, vanities. Each of those product attribute sets is going to have a different range of attributes on the product detail page to help the customer experience, because we just have so many different types of things. On Magento 1, and this is the past part of the speech, and it will be fast. I'll get to the point very quickly. We were limited because we could only operate using the flat tables. And we were running into MySQL limitations because of the sheer number of attributes. We were hacking the flat table and making each column smaller, and it was causing problems. So in September of 2020, we migrated HomePerfect from Magento 1 to Magento 2 in specific version 2.4.0. Magento 1 end of life, if you remember, was way back in June of 2020. It seems like so long ago. We rolled up our sleeves. We jumped right into it. And at the time, I briefly entertained the idea of moving it to something else, maybe Shopify, maybe WooCommerce. I entertained it, man. I entertained it. But I couldn't because of the total huge number of products and product attributes, and it was just not going to work on Shopify, I thought. And with WooCommerce in particular, I leaned towards as well, but I really felt like at the end of the day, this is the business path. And I'm in the business of selling toilets on the internet. As much as I like the technology, as much as I can geek out on it, I still have a business to run. And I didn't want to take on new technology changes that I'd have to learn. Just because I figured I'm sure I'd deal with all sorts of new headaches. We were on Magento 1 for so long. We were comfortable with Magento. We knew we were band-aiding it, and we knew we had some problems. We were aware of what the limitations were. So we said, let's go to Magento 2. At the end of the day, and I don't say this as a complaint, I really felt like we didn't really have a choice. I felt like my road had to lead to migration to Magento 2. So at the time I moved to 2.4.0, and I read every single word on this very small wiki like it was like the Bible. I've been using RapidFlow for like over 10 years for import-export. I'm still using it. My team uses it. And we love it. It works great. Basically, the Magento, the Adobe database migration tool or the data migration tool back then, it was not as good as it is now. And it was a nightmare. I tried to use it, and I knew immediately I can't use it. So if you study every single word of this small wiki, you too can migrate to Magento 2 using just Unity RapidFlow and the sales add-on and a couple add-ons. But, when I needed the help, Sergey at RapidFlow would always respond with help that I felt went above and beyond just their software support. So my first credit I want to give to Sergey Boyko at Unity, because he gave me the crazy MySQL queries, and he really jumped in and he saved my ass. So thank you so much, Sergey. I told him I was going to do that. So anyway, the problem was 2.4.0 was slow for us. It was really slow for us. And all the cache warming and varnish cache and FPC, anything you could say with cache in it just didn't help my front-end site speed. And I felt like at the end I took 2 steps back in what mattered the most, which was the customer experience. Here I was with a brand new Magento 2. I was excited, and it was just too slow. But buried into the release notes of 2.4.2 was performance enhancements, now supporting large databases. And I spoke to Igor last night from Adobe. Thank you for being here, man. He said he knows the guy who did this. Take a picture of that, send it to him, and tell him I appreciate it. Because it was really night and day. There was a total before and after. And once I upgraded to 2.4.2, I just felt I could get back to doing what I needed to do, which is sell faucets and sinks and toilets and washlets and all that stuff on the internet on Magento 2. And what was cool about it was, not only is I'd like to share some benchmarks first, honestly. So now I have this beautiful product detail page with cached 100 millisecond page load. Uncached, I'd put it at a little under 2 seconds. And that's including all the AI product recommendations and more from the same series and more from the same brand. It's great. It works for me. And as you can see here on this Blanco sink, I have a complete product detail page, and it loads really fast. And that I owe to Adobe for upgrading the core code and all the great work they did. So credit to Adobe and credit to my hosting provider, cloudmachines.io, because they did a great job. Thank you so much. So this brings me to the present. And in the present, I'm going to highlight 3 modules I use every day, 3 modules that my business grew to depend on, 3 modules I recommend, and I'll tell you why. The first is Elastic Suite. I know a lot of people use Elasticsearch. It's fast. It's amazing. Elastic Suite I love for, in particular, the virtual categories. So this is the Blanco brand page. And before, I used to have to send an email to merchandising and say, all the new Blanco syncs add to the Blanco brand page. And they would always mess it up. And I would constantly find missing SKUs, and then there would be discontinued SKUs, and it was a mess. Like, I used to have to send 1 million emails to merchandising teams to update my brand pages. But with Elastic Suite, it just does it for me because there's a virtual rule. And a non-technical team member can just hide products and drag and drop, and it's awesome. Now my product brand page looks like that, and the left nav is amazing and has all sorts of different fuzzy left nav settings that I can use very easily and tweak. And for me, Elastic Suite is probably the second most important thing that powers my business beyond Magento. So credit to Smile for making Elastic Suite. I would say it's the second most important part of Magento. I have 325 brands, so it's crazy. Like, it would have been, I would have wanted to jump in the water before if I had to keep up the merchandising of that. It's ridiculous. Next is Magento multi-source inventory. It's awesome for me, and I'll explain why. MSI, at first, I installed it on staging, and it didn't work. It had some error that said no sales source inventory. Like everyone else, I disabled all 30 of the MSI modules right away, and it kept it moving. And it was stupid of me, because once I explored it, it's awesome. Like, I have this LK bottle filling station. Here we have a warehouse in LA and a warehouse in New York. It's 104 pounds. And if I ship it to California, it better come from the warehouse in LA. It's going to get there faster. It's going to cost me so much less. It's not going to get damaged. With MSI, I can make it so automatically based on the ship to address, it'll get provisioned to that warehouse. And it's incredible for me. It's like something that I couldn't have done on Magento 1. And it's the reason why I'm here on Magento 2, to be able to do things like this. So thank you, Adobe, for making multi-source inventory. It's great. Now, the last module I'd like to highlight today is Competer.ai, and I use it for product information management. I have so many brands, 325 brands, and a lot of the time I get a vendor file from a brand that wants to sell their products on my website, and it's crazy. Like, this is all I get. And it'll be some sales guy. It's like, he could have been an extra on The Sopranos, and he's like, hey, sell my, plumbing fixtures on the internet. Here's the price file. And I'm like, all right, bro, like, I don't even have a picture, man. Like, what am I looking at? And he'll be like, it's okay. I got a book. I'll drop it off at your office. We'll get coffee. I got a book. We're going to make money on the internet. And I'll be like, all right, dude. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful price file. But anyway, that's why I use Competer.ai. And I use it to find all the information I need to accurately represent the product, because new products get released all the time. So I'd like to walk through an example of how I use Competer.ai to assist me in my product information management. So this is what my product detail would look like if I just took that vendor file from that suit, no sock wearing, backflow preventer rep. And I don't mean to put this guy under the bus. He's actually a nice guy. But I wouldn't even get approved in Merchant Center because I have no picture. And here's my amazing description. We really did it. We're going to raise conversions 300%. But somehow, the manufacturer's website always has all the information. And I'll say to them, hey, how do I get this information? I see the image. What do I do? And they'll never come back to me. Next quarter they'll call me and they'll say, hey, you got the file, right? Let's sell the stuff on the internet. So with Competer, directly in Magento, I can go on the manufacturer's website and pull all the information I need and commit it directly to my product detail page. It's incredible. It pulls everything. It pulls all the attribute data. And I can commit it. And it goes from that to that. I use this program every day. This module is absolutely one of the most amazing modules and completes those 3 modules that I'd like to talk about in the present. So thank you very much to Computer.ai. And yeah, it's incredible. And it's incredible to me that the manufacturers, I think a lot of them have gotten better over the years, but you know, they'll have more robust product files than they used to. But it's crazy to me that in 2022, I still get an Excel sheet with just like those 3 columns, and I even have to explain why it's not going to work. Like, but this is the business path, guys. Anyway, this is the future, my final part of my speech, and I have endless possibilities now that I'm on a stable, fast version of Magento 2 that I really love. I can explore PWA, I can explore headless commerce, I can explore Hoover. I see, and I also want to say that the reason why I'm here is because I heard Willem from Hoover talk to Kaylin on Mage Talk, and he said that he was going to be here. I was at the gym, and I was working out listening to Mage Talk, and I was like, you know what? I got to give a speech. It's been 3 years. It's been a migration that was difficult for me, and I wanted to share my experience as a merchant on Magento to let you know that guys like us are still here. So thank you to Kaylin. I appreciate you being here. And thank you to Willem, because if Willem didn't ask you if you were coming, I wouldn't be here. So credit is given where credit is due. Come round again, you'll get it too. It's not something I took from Batman Forever for Super Nintendo at all. The last credit I'd like to give is to all of you for being here, and it means so much to me that the Magento community, I think now it seems like I see a lot of positivity, and I'm very enthusiastic about the future of it as somebody that's been doing this for so long. So thank you so much for being here, and credit to everyone to create and innovate and move it forward so guys like me can keep doing what we're doing, and I can keep doing things like selling toilets on the internet. So thank you so much. And if you want a coupon code for a washlet bidet seat, get at me, I'll hook you up. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, so
So 15% off? But if you join our Perfect Members Club, a lot of the times we can't advertise a certain price, but with catalog price rules, we'll probably cut the price in about half. Yeah.
so
I like the C200, the SW2044.01. Yeah, I use it.
So we have 5 good minutes for questions.
I want to say thank you to One Step Checkout, too, before the checkout, because I had a problem with checkout, and Anton from One Step Checkout helped me out. I tried to save 100 euros by switching to a cheaper checkout, and it bit me in the ass. I had like these duplicate orders created. There was no error in the debug log. And I'm not a developer. I'm not an engineer. I'm just a guy that likes to tinker and explore. And when I need the help, like Anton saved me. So I'll never switch from One Step Checkout again.
Thank you for the mention.
Yeah. Any questions?
With that now large catalog, do you ever experience like a problem with the indexing process and stuff like that?
Not anymore. Not anymore, because the indexing is done in Elastic. I think the indexing takes about 20 minutes. I would say the caching is the biggest, or not a problem, but the trickiest thing to figure out. You know, there's things like, purging varnish cache in the rapid flow that we've done to instantly see these changes. And we've kind of explored that. But the indexing has been really smooth. And I used to experience indexing problems on M1. I would get all sorts of SQL state errors and deadlocks, and so I'm not getting that anymore. So I think, honestly, I think Adobe has greatly improved the code of Magento 2. So thank you, Adobe.
Is all the product data managed just in Magento? I know you have
Yeah.
to pull it.
Yeah.
Are you doing anything like, all right, so just keeping things like in terms of completeness, I guess. That's all done.
Yeah, I mean, the Magento is the database. We're working with spreadsheets from vendors. Vendors will send emails. Yeah, and sometimes some things are automated. Like I'll have a lot of stock through many different warehouses, but then I'll use Extento to kind of update a lot of different ones. But yeah, it's spreadsheets. Without computer, I'd be doing it the exact same way that I've been doing it for the last 12 years. And sometimes you just want to shoot yourself.
And you stock all that stuff in the 2 warehouses?
So the 2 warehouses I use as an example, I do have a lot of warehouses on the East Coast that I partner with. But there's a combination of warehouses that I partner with and drop shipping direct from the manufacturer. The lighting companies in particular are all drop ship. That's just the way the lighting industry works. So any single time if you buy a brand new light on the internet, it's going to come in a box straight from that lighting company. So, sometimes the lighting companies are bad at keeping up with good data too, and you have no choice but to, figure out a way to keep it current. So many things get discontinued. What do you do?
Well, a couple different things, but I sell medical equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah, same thing.
same thing, right? You probably get all sorts of crazy vendor files.
It's all flat files.
Yeah,
And all.
and you got a traveling rep that gives you a book and says, put on the internet, we're going to make a lot of money together. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyone else? No, I'm not yet. So the PWA, and that's for the future of where I'm at. I'm kind of saying to myself, am I going to do Hoova or am I going to do PWA? I've seen the Hoova compatibility and modules get better. I was talking to Willem, and I know, I kind of thought once they got Amnesty, Mirrorfit, and Headworks, they got like 75% of what they need to do. But for me, I have a little more. So as much as I like messing around and being a geek and stuff, like I'm not afraid of the command line, or as somebody else that might be in my position, maybe, right? But it's exciting to see because I think it will solve a lot of problems that I have, like the page inside scores and stuff like that. But probably next year. But I will without a doubt buy a license. I'll give him my credit card right now. 100% I'm buying a license for Hoova. Yeah. So what I did was Unergy has an MSI add-on that I was able to buy and add on to continue to use Unergy to update my MSI, my stock and sources. But I configured the MSI on the M2, so it's kind of like it's a newer thing for me. I mean, it wasn't there before. The MSI is really cool. There's in-store pickup that you could add. There's all sorts of things that you could add with it. It's just it seemed really complicated at first, the MSI. There's so many modules that you needed to disable just to get it. And I can't imagine anyone right away having the experience, unlike as soon as you just load it, it doesn't work, MSI. You have to really configure it. At least that was my experience. But that was the past. I love it now. I think it's great. Yeah. So the warehouses, the orders will integrate to the warehouses with I use Extento for the order export. So based on the where the item is going to be sourced from, I have these rules in Magento that will then allocate the Extento XML to the right warehouse. I actually did that one on my own. I actually didn't have any help for that. I needed some help from my developer to do some customizations to one-step checkout, but I probably could have asked Anton and I would have done it that way too. I just felt like I didn't need to bother him, but I bet you one day when I realize it's broken, I'll ask one-step checkout and you guys fix it. And the cycle continues. Honestly, it took... See, the problem with you want to do MSI, but it doesn't work for you, right? Yeah, you want to do MSI, or your partner wants to do it, and it says it has that error, there are no sources in stock. And honestly, man, I could probably personally configure an MSI in a month. I would say a month. Not necessarily. Well, I already had the visibility to inventory. I already had the inventory. I guess it helps from the salesperson's perspective because they could see the sources and stocks in the Magento backend, which is cool. Rather than they've been doing this for so long, they kind of know sometimes like certain toilets will always be in stock in one warehouse versus another. But or they'll know, oh man, my customer's in zip code 90210. Like I'm not going to go to where this might allocate it for initially. Yeah, because you need as much information as possible because ultimately they're less computer geeks than you, right? They're there to just make a sale. And you start explaining about, oh, my Extento, didn't import right, and there's an error. Did you run it in the terminal? You'll see the error, and they'll just be like, what are you talking about, dude? Just fix this so I can sell it. They'll be like, why are you even talking to me about this? Just stop, dude. I'll be like, okay, all right, I'll fix it. Yeah. Anyone else? You can hit me up anytime. I'm really passionate about this stuff because I've done it for so long. Oh, I want to say one more thanks. I was at a wedding a couple weeks ago, and I drove back with Yannick James from B. Meyer, And I want to give credit to Mayor Bianchi of B. Meyer. He did a lot of development work for us at Home Perfect on Magento 1. And I'm really happy to see that they're both in the community. And, I took that car ride with Yannick, and we spent like 3 hours from New Haven to New York. And we were talking about like Google page scores. We were talking about Web3 and how it could tie back to Magento. And it was such a passionate conversation. We didn't even turn on the radio for like the first hour and a half. And I think that's a strong testament to why we're all excited to be here. And I'm really happy that the community can have these discussions like that, because you see, like at this conference, there's people from all over the world, but we all have a similar passion to kind of tinker and explore. And something like a Shopify would have held me back. I would have been able to dumb it down, but it would have held me back in so many ways from being able to just throw whatever I want at this thing and just go wild, So thank you to Yannick and Meir, and I really appreciated that talk. And it kind of presented a full circle picture for me for why I wanted to do this and just speak to you guys. So, yeah. I don't normally speak, about toilets.
Thank you so much, Alex. This is why we are all here, to share experience and get learnings from merchants like yourself. So Alex is a cool merchant. He's not one of those who avoids all the vendors. So hit him up, give him his card, sell him stuff, and he'll be happy.